Hello and welcome to the Patty Pod, Season 2, Episode 14. It is January 3rd, and we are coming to you from the living room. A little change of pace. Kate is having dinner with an old friend who's in town, I think just wrapping up the holidays. Shout out Frances. Don't think she's a listener, but we'll shout her out. She is at an Indian place that is reportedly pretty good, and I'm a little bit jealous. I do like Indian, especially since I'm a vegetarian. A lot of good options from the land of many vegetarians. But I'm hoping she's having a good time, so I do have kind of the run of the place for the podcast, Tuned Out in the Living Room. This is where I kind of like to spend more time. Apartment life doesn't leave many places to meander, and I do like to be out in the living room. It feels a little bit more relaxing, a little bit less constraining maybe. I think I have COVID flashbacks to being relegated to the bedroom at various points for working or living. But anyways, it's good to be here. We are a bit of a double album. We did our last one, the end of December. And, I thought I'd move on. It had been a little while since I'd done that episode. And so much to say, like the Dave Matthews song. It is the 3rd of January, as I mentioned. Everyone's maybe just finished day 2 of re-entry. Oh, does it feel like a different world after you've been off for 2 weeks like I have? It's always an adjustment. Tough. Not terrible. Actually easier this year than last year. I think last year, being my first year as the head teacher, it was actually it was harder than I thought it was going to be to come back after the holiday break. But still, I was telling my co-teacher today, it feels like going for a run when you haven't run for a long time. Slow and tired. That's how I felt yesterday and today. Had a great break. I mentioned some of it last week. I was in Minnesota, played a lot of hockey. When I got back to New York, I went to 2 Phish shows. Phish did their annual 4-night run at Madison Square Garden, which always culminates in a New Year's Eve concert. It made big waves this year as they performed the musical known as Gamehenge, which was officially titled The Man Who Stepped Into Yesterday, which was written by what is commonly referred to as the lead man, as sort of antiquated as that may sound, the lead man of the group, Trey Anastasio. Trey wrote this when he was in college. It was his senior thesis, and it's like a set of songs with some narration in between. It's not really like a full-fledged musical with dialogue and stage directions as far as I know. But there's narration and there's songs. And it was recorded by Trey, I believe. And that recording made its way around the Phish world. Phish was a band like the Grateful Dead that allowed people to tape their concerts, their shows, and trade those tapes. And so there was a robust tape trading community and tradition. I, in fact, found this out, I think, through a bulletin board, an internet bulletin board, my senior year of high school. I couldn't believe such a thing existed. And somebody told me all I needed to do was send them a self-addressed stamped envelope, padded envelope, to their home, and that they would send me a tape. They'd make me a tape, and just send it back. I couldn't believe a stranger would do that. It was wild. It was a wild first experience for me in this sort of idea of kind of altruistic giving, giving with no intention of receiving anything to a complete stranger. And that, there was some of that hippie bohemian ethos within the Grateful Dead world, and it had made its way to the Phish world, I think especially back then. And I was blown away by that. And it was also my first, that ethos combining with the internet, and that matched sort of the ethos of the early internet as well, or some of the internet. And I just thought I was really blown away by it when I was 18, and I got that tape, and it was a live show, and I don't think I had any other live shows available to me. I had a live one, their album, which they made, which was an excellent album. I still really like it. That was the band, I guess, sifted through tons of live recordings and picked out what they thought was best. And but then there was this other live concert that somebody sent me. So it was amazing. That, of course, was before the days of streaming. And now we can get, virtually any show that they've recorded online. But in any case, there was this tape trading phenomenon, and one of the tapes that went around was this musical that was affectionately and widely known as Gamehenge. Well, I think they last performed it in like the early to mid 90s, and they performed it this New Year's Eve. I wasn't there. I was there the 2 nights previous, but people were extremely excited. It is a big fan favorite and kind of, I think, a badge of honor if you hear some of these songs. That I've always thought is a little odd, that people feel a sense of accomplishment by listening to music, to Phish in particular, in this community. I don't know, it just seems weird to me to brag about how many shows you've been to or which particular shows. But I guess it's like an experience. People brag about other experiences. In any case, it does still seem a little weird to me, but people freaked out about this one. I like Gamehenge. I'm not as hyperbolic about it. I do like a lot of the songs, and I enjoy the story. I think it's cool. I think it's cool that it was done, and that it has a fantasy element to it. There's elements of magic. There's sort of a magical realism to it, and it's cool. It's a good message, and some of the characters are interesting in it. So, cool thing. I'm glad they did it. I saw some of it on video. I'm gonna try to see some more later. But that was me. I went to 2 of the shows. I danced the whole time. That's 3 hours for each show. I was exhausted. I got home late. The shows went from 8 till midnight, and I sort of ran out as fast as I could, but I still didn't get into bed until like 1:30 on Friday night. And then I went and played hockey on Saturday, roller hockey in Manhattan. And then I went back to Brooklyn and then back up to Manhattan to go to the show the second night. Danced that whole night too. That second night I met up with some friends, one of whom had access to the floor. So I got to go down to the floor, which I hadn't done at the Garden. I've been kind of up near the stage and some of their outdoor shows. I did that at Randall's Island, which is a big island in New York City, just off of Manhattan. That was an amazing show. That was sort of like a mini festival. They had artists there, and they had food trucks, and it was really cool. And I prefer an outdoor show. There's less smoke, too, which is nice, or at least less in your face. And it's, just a little bit more beautiful. And my first Phish concert was at this gorgeous venue in Wisconsin called Alpine Valley, which is in this wooded area that has a big sloping hillside. So I had a real magical moment there when I was a kid, when I was 17, watching them play. A spiritual moment, in fact. Probably one of my first, where I really felt like I was connecting and transcending. I remember watching the birds swooping down the valley, and so that may be why I'm partial to the outdoor show. But I did have a good time at the indoor show. I always try to go to a couple shows whenever they do these runs at the garden. And it was fun to be with some friends and to go down to the floor. All of it was cool. It was a great experience. I was exhausted though. And then Kate and I went to a New Year's Eve party in Park Slope. I had a friend from hockey. It was a beautiful place. He has a beautiful brownstone. It was fun to get out. We sat indoors and watched the ball drop on TV in some years past. I think it's just fun to be out and with some friends that I've kind of made over the last couple of years. So it was good to be in Brooklyn too. But all of that left me exhausted, and I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. It is slow going. I wonder if it's like that for everybody. I find it to be a hard time of the year. But so far, so good. A phrase that's been really helpful for me is one day at a time. There are these distinct breaks when you're a teacher that I didn't have in the corporate world, which are great. But it can feel like like you're starting all over again, kind of when you go back, and it's easy to like start thinking about all the things you want to do and whatnot. But one day at a time was a good motto for me. I'm going to jump into the essay. I hope everyone is having, before I do that, I will say I hope you're having a good transition. I hope hearing this, maybe if you're having a hard time transitioning, I hope this podcast is kind of like a prairie home companion in the literal sense, a little companion. I hope it feels like you're talking to a friend and or listening to a friend. I guess you're not talking too much, but listening a little bit, and hopefully that'll help you if you're struggling a little bit to get back into the swing of things. I know I like to have that kind of feeling when I'm listening to podcasts or other kinds of media. So let's jump in. I am going to jump into the essay that I wrote in the summer. It'll be a little break from the winter we have here, and it's kind of like a mental trip. So let's just jump into it. Today I visited Daily Provisions, a coffee shop on the Upper West Side. It's got kind of a classic seaside look with well-worn hardwood floors and a white and navy color scheme, including big striped awnings. Somehow it fit right in on Manhattan's Upper West Side. The staff seemed tired, which didn't surprise me, as the place was completely full at 3:45 p.m., and there was a decent-sized line for ordering. The staff was pretty friendly, which did surprise me considering the circumstances. I thought I should keep that in mind when I'm busy and try to keep perspective. I thought I should keep that in mind when I'm busy and try to keep perspective. I like the neighborhood. It's got all the amenities of an expensive neighborhood, even if it can feel a little broader shouldered and less quaint than its expensive cousins in town. The crowd always seemed about 10 years older than me, which added to the sense that it was pricey, as if only those further down the earnings road can afford it. It also feels yuppier. It's definitely younger than the old money of the east side, but there must be fewer projects and rent-controlled units than downtown based on the crowd I saw. As I wondered if I'd like to live here, I'm reminded that my favorite musician, Trey Anastasio, does, and it makes me think that it must be pleasant. In fact, I kind of hoped I might run into him when I chose to come up here, but alas, no such luck. I'd read he'd done an interview at Cafe Lazo, and that seemed as good as any place to visit for the first time. When I got there, I realized I'd been there before. I really enjoyed their fin de siècle decor of brass. I don't know if I said that. Let me pause. Kate's going to throw the flag. Fin de siècle, I believe is how you say that. It means turn of the century. It usually refers to the turn of the 19th and 20th century. But I digress. I really enjoyed the fin de siècle decor of brass finishings, woodwork, and Toulouse-Lautrec style prints, so I remembered it well. I also remember enjoying breakfast, waffles, I think. I'd stayed in a hostel down the street and was in town for student orientation and falling in love with the neighborhood. It felt like a small synchronicity that this was the spot I'd read about, but unfortunately it was closed for renovations. I had hoped that they weren't changing the decor and instead replacing something like ovens or coolers. I thought again about the fact that I was hoping to see Trey and felt a little silly, but mostly okay. There are very few celebrities that I would want to stop and chat with, but when someone has given you so much music to love, how can you not just want to say hi and say thanks? That would be the extent of it, just a fun little interaction. I was sitting outside and the sun's rays started to slant when I started to think about going home. I was enjoying the warm temperature, the consistent breeze, the people watching, and hearing various sounds around me. A table of 4 were speaking Arabic, I think, 2 tables down. The table next to me didn't talk much between their bites of food, but spoke Chinese when they did speak. A nicely dressed Asian American pair sat on the park bench opposite me. She did most of the talking, but unlike the man I saw yesterday snapping multiple photos of his mate in Bryant Park, I didn't see clear signs of exasperation on this man's face. A group of African men sat on their parked mopeds on the cross street. One of them spoke animatedly and at length. I couldn't see if his mates had looks of exasperation or boredom as they were around the corner from me. I thought I probably would. I took one last look around, remembered I was fortunate to get an outdoor table in this packed place, grabbed my sunglasses and backpack, and headed for the train and home for a nice summer Sunday evening, relaxing with Kate. Okay, so that was the essay corner. We're going to go to the language corner. It's funny, I didn't realize this when I wrote this language corner piece. I hadn't read the essay for this week, but I do want to bring back yuppie. I said that word in the essay. I feel like there's moments when I need to yell that. It's one of those lost words. We used to call people yuppies. I think Gen Xers more. It was kind of a slur that you would say, especially against younger. I think when Gen Xers were in their 20s, if one of them, if they had a peer who was richer than they were, they could always kind of say, yuppie, you yuppie. It was like a way to, what's the phrase? It was sort of like, if you had sour grapes, you were envious, you would just call them a yuppie. But I was listening to Tony Robbins years ago. I was listening to some lecture he gave, and he was actually interviewing the crowd about things that they wanted to improve, or something along those lines. Anyway, and then he started criticizing somebody for biting their nails, like that person was in the 2nd grade or something. And I just, I was kind of wanting to yell at Tony, "Don't be such a yuppie. It's okay to bite your nails. Don't be such a yuppie." Anyway, I think I'm going to throw that one in the back pocket. Those of us who aren't super rich need something that we got. It's like an elbow to throw in hockey. I thought the other day about let's stay in the language corner. Another thing that people used to say was "get a room." Remember that? That was good. But where did all these phrases go? I mean, it's not an idiom per se, but it's how do we, just they disappear. I don't get it. That was something that was like, I don't know. I think another Gen X thing. I think a lot of these things sort of went away. I think some of them maybe came from baby boomers, and then they made their way to the Gen X to kind of, you're always looking to the generation above you to figure out what's what's adult, and what's kind of cool. And, but maybe, once maybe they start in one generation, get picked up by the next, and then they're gone by the third. Anyway, we used people used to yell, "get a room." You'd see it on movies and stuff. Like somebody kind of a hard-bitten person, like maybe in the stereotypical New Yorker, or just just kind of a rough, a hard-bitten person is maybe the best way to put it. Would yell that when they'd see somebody hugging and kissing or something like that. I saw a couple hugging and kissing on the subway platform the other day, and I really wanted to be like, "get a room!" I really wanted to yell it. I thought it'd be kind of hilarious. A blast from the past, How have we shamefully neglected that phrase? How else are we going to show scorn for love and affection? I don't know if we'll be able to do it. So that's something I want to bring back. Let's talk a little bit about other things that I have on my mind. I think we need to figure out napkins. When I got older and I wanted to seem polished and even debonair, I latched on to putting the napkin in my lap pretty early. I was doing that when I was 15, I think. And, it wasn't commonplace when the hockey team would go to Subway to do such a thing. But I must have seen older people do it, and I thought, I want to be classy. And so I did that, and ever since I've been doing it. I don't know what the rule is about which situation you need to do that in. I kind of just did it always. But I think if the napkin is paper, we have to say it's okay to not put it in your lap. I was at my favorite diner, Uncle Louie's in Duluth, Minnesota. Shout out Uncle Louie's. And I had the paper napkin, and I was sitting at the counter. So it was a stool. My legs were kind of at an angle. They weren't flat. My thighs, they were sort of angled down because of the way the stool was, the height of it. And, the napkin keeps slipping, and I don't know. I think we should say we don't need to do that. If it's paper, you're out. If it's paper, you're in the clear. Let's go ahead and make that a thing. There's not enough causes in the world, and I just found one that's worth having. So let's do that. What else do we want to talk about here? Let's talk a little bit about I had quite the experience with with a friend back home. I'll tell this story. It's a bit of a doozy. So I was back home, and I ran into an old friend, and he'll remain nameless to protect the innocent, the semi-innocent. But I saw him at my nephew's hockey game, and he was like, saying what's happening, what's going on, what's up, and I said, hey, what's up, man, what's up? And he was telling me what he was up to, and he was telling me, we're reminiscing a little bit about high school, and then he mentioned that he was going to be singing that Friday night. And so I said, cool, well, he's like, you gotta come out, man, you gotta come out. And I was like, yeah, okay, I might come out. He's like, and he said it was at the ski hill that's a ways outside of town. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not quite sure. I never have a good plan. When I go home, I sort of bounce around. And so that's cool. So this guy's dating a mom on my nephew's hockey team. And I got a little taste of youth sports I mentioned last time, I think. It's constant. So I saw this guy on a Saturday night. I went straight from the airport to the rink, saw my nephew play, saw this guy. And then the next day, they had another game. I believe it was in the morning. And so I saw him again. Same thing. What's up, my man? How you doing? Doggy dog? What's good, bro? What's good? What you been up to? What are you up to this week, man? What are you up to this week? And I was like, yeah, man, I don't know. I'm gonna, bounce. Got to see my nephews. Got to see my nieces and brothers and sisters. I'm not quite sure. And he said, yeah, man. Well, I'm singing and playing this Friday. And I said, oh, got you. I heard you. Gonna try to get there. Gonna try to get there, man. But best of luck in either way. So that was the next day. I think I saw him again the next day. So this is like Tuesday now. Hanging out again because youth sports just doesn't stop for anything. So, they have a game every day, I guess. And sometimes two, which is not a lie by any stretch. Those of you traveling sports parents can attest. So, my man, I see him again, same thing. What's up? What's happening, doggy dog? How you feeling? Yo, man, I've been doing this, been doing that. Got it. What are you up to? What are you up to this week? What are you doing, man? What are you doing today? And I was like, I'm going to be, going over to my sister's, blah, 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 blah. Mentions again, he's playing music. Okay, Friday night. Cool, got it. Then he says to me, yo, man, hit me up on Facebook. And I was like, huh? Like, we just talked like 3 days in a row. What do you mean hit you up? So I go home and I send him a message on Facebook just saying, hey, what's shaking? And no reply. And that was kind of in the evening. So then I go to bed. I wake up the next day and I have a message back. Hey, sorry, just got this. Yo, text me at my new number. So I'm like, okay, create contact. I'm punching in the numbers. So I go and play hockey. As soon as I get done playing hockey, I'm in the locker room. I text him. I'm like, hey, man, what's up? What's going on? I'm just like really trying to figure out what he wants now, right? I'm just confused. I don't know if he wants to be my friend, if he's, wants to impress his girlfriend, or if he wants to, I don't know, just really wants to pack the house at his concert or whatever. But so anyway, he calls me and he's like, what's up, man? What what are you up to? And I'm like, well, I'm just leaving the rink. He's like, oh, what are you up to tonight? This is Thursday, mind you. And I say, well, I'm actually going to visit a friend. I think I've mentioned in the podcast before. I have a friend whose wife passed away very, very sadly earlier this year. And I said, I'm actually going to go hang out with my friend. You remember this guy? And I mentioned his name, Dan. And I'm like, he's like, oh, yeah, okay. And then he's like, oh, it's terrible. What happened? I'm like, oh, his wife passed from cancer. And he's like, oh, it's so bad, And I said, yeah, I haven't seen him. I haven't even talked to him since it happened. So I'm heading up there. I'm going to bring my guitar. We're just going to play a little guitar and just chill. And he was like, yeah, okay. And he's like, yo, I got my piano. I got my keyboard. Yeah, I was like, no, probably not. Probably not a good idea. Like I mentioned, his wife passed away. Not going to be a time to jam with everybody. He's like, all right. And he's like, so, and then we started talking some more about, I don't know, whatever. And then he was like, so what are you guys doing later? And I was like, dude, we're not doing anything later. We're just going to do that. Because it's, we haven't seen each other in so long and so much has happened. And he was like, all right. So I got my girl here. Do you guys want to grab a drink? I'm like, no drinks. We're just going to chill. He's like, all right, cool. So, holler at me. I was like, okay, gotcha. Check you out later. I'm going to, then again, mentions I'm going to be playing at the ski hall. Yep, got it. All right. That's Thursday afternoon. Then I go about my rest of my day, doing whatever. Thursday evening rolls around. I am driving up to my friend Dan's house, the guy who lost his wife, and we're, it's about 7:30, 8 o'clock. My man calls me again. Again, he asks me, yo, what's up? What are you up to, baby? What are you up to? And I'm like I mentioned, I'm heading up to my friend Dan's. I haven't seen him since his wife passed. We're gonna chill, and just gonna be a chill night. He's like, what y'all doing later? You want me and my girl around? I'm like, nope. Again, we're just gonna chill. And it's been a tough fall. We're gonna just I'm like, but at this point I'm just desperate. I'm like, I'll be at your show though. I will be at your show tomorrow night. So that was I got locked in. I had to call my brother, who's friends with this guy too, immediately after and be like, yo, what is going on? He wasn't sure either. He thinks this guy really wanted to pack the house at his show. So anyway, that was a hard sell. I got the hardest of sells from my man. I did go out to the ski hill. That was another wild place. I drove through the fog, dense fog. This place is probably 30 miles outside of town, outside of the western part of Duluth, a place that I don't really drive very often, and I could barely see 5 feet in front of me. So it was like something out of a movie. I thought I might I did miss my turn. I didn't know where the hell I was. I drove up to the ski hill. I got to the main area, the main building. I'm looking around for a place where there could be some music being played. It's just a little bar with some skiers watching TV. And I'm like, hey, can you tell me where, the trophy lodge is? And they're like, oh yeah, that's up the hill. You can't drive up there though. You got to take the shuttle. That'll be coming in a few minutes. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I walk outside and it's eventually this white shuttle, like an airport shuttle, pulls up. And I jump in, just me. Some drunk people kind of stumble out. And I'm in there by myself then, and we're going up the hill. And we get up to the very top of this hill, and there's this big lodge, beautiful building, kind of log cabin style. So I walk in, and and right away my friend's like, he's like, hey, straight in from New York City, baby. Straight in from New York City, it's Pat Brooks. Pat Brooks, say what up, baby. Everyone say what up. And I'm like blushing. I'm like, I don't know, any of these people, I'm kind of like hiding. I don't really want to be on stage. I'm like sort of waving my hand, trying to run away. And then I'm chilling at this bar, this beautiful long wood bar. There's a bunch of people there. I realized pretty quickly that it's an ugly Christmas sweater party. I don't have an ugly sweater, at least not by my taste. I did have a sweater. I don't know if anyone thought I was participating or not. They then have the contest for ugliest sweater, and somebody wins, and I recognize this person's face. And I thought, that's this girl I went to middle school with. Turns out it was. Her name is Alicia. Alicia, shout out. I'm certain she's not listening. I didn't mention the podcast, but I'll give her a shout out anyways. Wild blast in the past. I probably haven't talked to her since 8th grade. She went to a different high school, so we had a lot to reminisce about. And then she was sort of like, check out this place, huh? What do you think? And I was like, yeah, it's nice. I'm like, it's different. Like there was this buffalo when I walked in, and it was like pretty big size. I kind of had to bump into it as I was trying to walk around. She's like, did you see the other room? And I was like, yeah, I did. And she's like, did you see the giraffe? I'm like, I think I did, yeah. And she's like, yeah, the owner of this place shot that giraffe with a crossbow and killed it in Africa. And then it dawned on me that I was in the midst of a bunch of dead exotic animals. I went back into the room. It was like a full size, I don't know how tall they get, 17 feet, huge giraffe that this person had killed with a crossbow. And there was the buffalo that I had bumped into, I then realized was a real buffalo that somebody had killed and stuffed. And then, they had elk and deer and moose and all manner of heads mounted too. And I was like, oh my God, kind of wondering if I'd see a swastika on the underside of the dinnerware, So that was totally wild. I felt like I stepped into like a Tarantino movie or something. It was kind of insane. So that was the wild story from back home. I will go back to, I'll wrap it up in just a bit here. I will go back to the language corner for a second. I did want to talk a little bit about, I was thinking about wry versus dry humor. I thought, is there any difference? I feel like I hear those two used interchangeably, but I'll tell you a little bit about what I discovered. So I looked this up. Wry apparently evolved from a meaning of to twist. Applied to humor, it refers to humor that is bitterly or disdainfully ironic or amusing, distorted or perverted in meaning, warped, misdirected, or perverse, words that are unsuitable or wrong, scornful and mocking in a humorous way. It covers a lot of territory. It certainly does. That is a lot of territory. I mean, a lot of humor can be that way. Distorted or perverted in meaning, disdainful. Here's some examples, though. Examples include, I swear, if my memory was any worse, I could plan my own surprise party. And another example is, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings when I called you stupid. I really thought you already knew. That is a tough one.
That's what I'm saying. That's not...
Oh, hold on one sec. We have a visitor. we're gonna have to do a brief pause because but Kate just walked in. She is just getting back. There goes Gunther. He's gonna be meowing a little bit to welcome her. I think that might be Gunther's first appearance, first meowing appearance on the podcast. So that's awesome. And she's just gonna come in, and I think she's talking on the phone. So you might get that might be the first cameo from Kate as well. Well, now you get the real kind of cinema verite version of the podcast. But she's now in the other room. We'll go back to the discussion here. So that was wry humor. Dry humor, on the other hand, is often called deadpan humor because it is delivered with a straight face and a serious tone. It's often called deadpan humor because it's delivered... Oh, 1 second. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Here we are, back in business. You've had some coffee sips on the podcast, and now is a little apartment living on the podcast. But again, this is the cinema verite. This is the kind of real, raw, gritty experience you get on the Patty Pod that, undoubtedly endears me to the audience. Okay, so dry humor, on the other hand, is often called deadpan humor because it is delivered with a straight face and a serious tone, as if it is not intended to be funny. Examples include, whenever I think of the past, it brings back so many memories. I intend to live forever. Oh, and I intend to live forever. So far, so good. So there you go. I mean, I guess you just can imagine somebody saying that without a lot of emotion. I guess that's what dry humor is, where wry seems like it's sort of a catch-all for a lot of things that are maybe a little darker, I guess. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. Maybe you have heard those two terms as well. I've always wondered what the difference was. I think from the examples, I think I like dry a little bit better. Although dry can be kind of funny if it's done well. Well, we're going to wrap it up with that. That's been... I hope everyone is doing well, and I hope you're getting through the January transition, and we will be back in not too long. Take care, everyone. Peace and love.